My name is Janae, and I stood in my childhood home on Thanksgiving evening, watching my husband's lawyer hand me divorce papers while his stepfather, the man who raised him, the man dying of cancer upstairs, called out weakly for water that no one but me would bring. Marcus had walked out 3 days earlier, just packed his things and left. No explanation, no goodbye to the man who'd loved him as a son for 23 years. He'd abandoned us both, and what he didn't know was that I had his stepfather's will in my hands, the one that left everything to Marcus, and I was about to make the hardest, most strategic decision of my life. Have you ever been betrayed so completely that it rewires how you see the world? Let me back up. I met Marcus Chen when I was 26, working as a junior architect at a firm in Seattle. He was 31, a corporate finance manager with a beautiful smile, and this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. Our first date lasted 7 hours. We talked about everything: our dreams, our families, our fears. He told me about his stepfather, Robert, who'd married his mother when Marcus was 8 years old, after his biological father had abandoned them. Robert had been more than a stepfather. He'd been everything: the man who taught him to ride a bike, who paid for his college, who sat in the front row at his graduation. "He saved us," Marcus said that night, his eyes bright with emotion. "My mom and me, we had nothing, and he gave us everything." I fell in love with that version of Marcus, the grateful son, the man who valued loyalty and family above all else. We got married 2 years later in a small ceremony in Robert's backyard. His mother, Linda, had passed away from a stroke the year before, and Robert walked me down the aisle with tears streaming down his face. He whispered to me before he gave me away, "Take care of my boy. He's got a good heart, but he forgets sometimes what really matters." I should have paid attention to that warning. For the first 4 years, our marriage was good. Not perfect. No marriage is, but solid. We bought a small house in Ballard, talked about having kids someday, built a life together. Marcus was ambitious, always chasing the next promotion, the next bonus. I understood that. I was ambitious too, working my way up to senior architect, winning a design award for a community center in Tacoma. But something started shifting about a year and a half ago. Marcus became distant, distracted. He'd come home late, claiming work emergencies. He'd snap at me over small things: dishes in the sink, my work papers on the dining table. He stopped asking about my projects, stopped touching me the way he used to, with intention and warmth. Our conversations became transactional. "Did you pay the electric bill? Can you pick up my dry cleaning? What's for dinner?" I tried to talk to him about it multiple times. He'd brush me off, tell me I was overreacting, that work was stressful, that I needed to be more understanding. Then 6 months ago, Robert got the diagnosis: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months to a year, they said. Marcus fell apart. I'd never seen him like that, completely unraveled. He cried in my arms that night, shaking, gasping for air. "I can't lose him," he kept saying. "I can't lose him, Janae. He's all I have left." "You have me," I whispered. "We'll get through this together." He pulled away from me, just slightly. But I felt it. Robert started declining rapidly. He'd always been this robust, energetic man, a retired electrician who still did woodworking in his garage, who volunteered at the food bank every Saturday. Within 3 months, he was bedridden, needing round-the-clock care. Marcus couldn't handle it. He'd visit his stepfather once a week, stay for 20 minutes, then leave looking shattered. He couldn't watch the decline, couldn't face the reality of losing the only father he'd ever known. So I stepped in. I took family leave from work. I moved into Robert's house in Greenwood to provide care. I coordinated with hospice nurses, managed his medications, helped him bathe and dress, read to him when he couldn't sleep. I cooked his favorite foods even though he could barely eat. I held his hand through the pain, and I came to love him deeply. Not as a stepfather-in-law, but as the father I'd never had. My own dad had left when I was 3. Robert filled that space with his gentle wisdom, his terrible jokes, his stubborn insistence on dignity even as his body failed him. Marcus would call occasionally. "How is he?" he'd ask. "Hanging in there," I'd say. "He misses you. He asks for you every day." "I'll come by this weekend." He rarely did. I didn't push it. I understood grief shows up differently for everyone. I thought I was being the supportive wife, taking on the burden so Marcus didn't have to face his pain. I was wrong. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Robert called me into his bedroom. He'd had a good day, more alert, less pain. He patted the bed beside him. "I need to talk to you about something important," he said. He told me he'd updated his will. His estate wasn't massive, but it was substantial. The house in Greenwood, worth about $850,000 in Seattle's market, plus retirement accounts and savings totaling another $400,000. He'd always told Marcus everything would be his. "But I'm changing it," Robert said. His voice was weak but firm. "I'm leaving half to you." I jerked back. "Robert, no, that's Marcus's inheritance. I can't. Listen to me." He gripped my hand with surprising strength. "You're the one who's been here. You're the one who's shown me what real love looks like. Not obligation, not duty. Love." "Marcus," his voice cracked. "Marcus can't face hard things. He runs. He's always run. But you stayed. He's your son. And he's your husband." "But where is he, Janae?" I had no answer. "I see things," Robert continued. "I see how he treats you, how he's been treating you. I'm old and I'm dying, but I'm not blind. You deserve more, and you've earned this. You've given me dignity in my last months. You've given me your time, your care, your heart. That's worth more than blood." I cried then. Ugly, wrenching sobs. "I don't want to cause problems in your marriage," I managed to say. "Honey, I think there are already problems in your marriage. I think you know that." He was right. I did know. I'd known for months. I just hadn't wanted to face it. Robert had his lawyer come to the house that week. I witnessed the new will being signed, along with the hospice nurse. 50% to Marcus, 50% to me. The house would be sold and proceeds split, or one of us could buy out the other's half. Robert made me promise not to tell Marcus until after he passed. "I don't want drama in my final days," he said. "I want peace," I promised. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I came home to our house in Ballard to grab more clothes. I'd been staying at Robert's full time, only going home every few days to check mail and water plants. Marcus wasn't supposed to be there. He texted me that morning saying he was working late, going out with colleagues afterward. But his car was in the driveway. I walked in and heard laughter from upstairs. A woman's laughter. My body went cold, then hot, then numb. I climbed the stairs like I was moving through water. Our bedroom door was open. Marcus was in bed with a woman I'd never seen before. Brunette, petite, maybe 25. They were tangled in our sheets, wine glasses on the nightstand, clothes scattered across the floor I'd vacuumed 3 days earlier. They didn't even notice me at first. "Marcus." My voice came out steady. I don't know how. His head whipped around. The color drained from his face. "Janai, fuck. This isn't." "Get out," I said to the woman. She scrambled up, grabbing clothes, stammering apologies. She was out of the house in under 2 minutes. Marcus stood there in his boxers, hands raised like he was calming a wild animal. "How long?" I asked. "Janae, let me explain." "How long, Marcus?" 4 months. 4 months. While I was caring for his dying stepfather. While I was taking family leave from my career. While I was cooking and cleaning and managing medications and holding Robert's hand through his terror. "Her name is Sienna," Marcus said, and I couldn't believe he was still talking. "I met her at work. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to—" "Stop." He stopped. "Is this why you've been avoiding Robert? Because you've been too busy fucking someone else to visit your dying father?" Don't make this about him. It is about him. He's dying, Marcus. He has weeks, maybe days, and you can't be bothered to spend time with him because you're having an affair? You don't understand the pressure I've been under. I laughed. Actually laughed. Pressure? You think you've been under pressure? I put my entire career on hold. I've been emptying bedpans and managing hospice care and watching a good man die slowly. And you've been under pressure? I didn't ask you to do all that. The words hung in the air between us. You're right, I said quietly. You didn't ask. You didn't do anything. You abandoned him, just like you're about to abandon me. He had the decency to look ashamed for about 3 seconds. I want a divorce, he said. There it was. I've been unhappy for a long time, he continued, gaining confidence now, building his narrative. We've grown apart. You've become obsessed with Robert, with playing nurse. We don't have a marriage anymore, Janae. We have an arrangement. I became obsessed with Robert because you couldn't handle watching him die. I stepped up because someone had to. I didn't ask you to be a martyr. That word, martyr, like my compassion was a character flaw. Get out, I said. This is my house too. Get out. He left that night. Went to stay with a friend, he said. Probably went to Sienna's place. I sat in our bedroom until morning, surrounded by the evidence of his betrayal, trying to figure out how I'd been so blind. The next day, I went back to Robert's house. He took one look at my face and knew. What did he do? I told him everything. Robert closed his eyes and tears leaked from the corners. I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry my boy turned out to be such a coward. It's not your fault. I raised him to be better than this. You raised him to be exactly who you are, I said. Kind and loyal and strong. He just chose not to be that person. We sat in silence for a while. Don't tell him about the will, Robert said finally. Not yet. Wait until after. Robert, please, I don't want him coming around pretending to care just because there's money involved. Let me die in peace, thinking he might still come say goodbye because he loves me, not because he wants something. It broke my heart, but I agreed. Marcus texted me 2 days later. He'd hired a lawyer. He wanted to move forward with divorce proceedings immediately. He wanted the house in Ballard. He'd bought it before we married, he claimed, so it should be his. He wanted me to sign papers agreeing to a quick, clean split. I hired my own lawyer, a woman named Patricia who looked like a kindergarten teacher, but had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in divorce proceedings. Don't sign anything yet, she advised. Let's see what he's really after. Thanksgiving was the following week. I planned to spend it with Robert, just the two of us. Maybe the hospice nurse would stop by. I'd make a small turkey breast, mashed potatoes, his favorite pumpkin pie. Marcus texted me Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I'm not coming for Thanksgiving. Too hard. Tell Robert I love him. I didn't respond. Wednesday evening, Robert took a turn for the worse. The hospice nurse said it could be days or hours now. His breathing was labored. He was in and out of consciousness. I called Marcus. Voicemail, I called again. Voicemail. I texted, Your father is dying. If you want to say goodbye, come now. Nothing. I called 5 more times that night. Nothing. Thursday morning, Thanksgiving. Robert rallied slightly. Sometimes dying patients do that, the nurses said. One last burst of clarity before the end. He was lucid, calm. We talked about his life, his marriage to Linda, his career, his regrets and his joys. I'm grateful you were here, he said. At the end, I'm grateful it was you. I'm grateful too, I whispered. Don't let Marcus's choices make you bitter, he said. You're too good for that. You find someone who deserves you. Promise me. I promise. And don't feel guilty about the will. You earned every penny. You gave me something money can't buy. He fell asleep after that. Peaceful. His breathing steady. I went downstairs to start cooking. Turkey in the oven, potatoes boiling, trying to make the day feel normal even though nothing was normal. That's when the doorbell rang. I opened it expecting the hospice nurse. Instead, there was a man in a suit holding a manila envelope. Janai Chen? Yes. You've been served. He handed me the envelope and walked away. I stood in the doorway, holding divorce papers, on Thanksgiving, while Robert was dying upstairs. I don't remember walking to the kitchen. I don't remember sitting down. But suddenly, I was at the table, papers spread in front of me, reading through Marcus's demands. He wanted the house in Ballard, all of it, no split. He wanted me to waive any claim to his retirement accounts. He wanted me to pay him $30,000 for his share of furniture and joint purchases. He wanted everything final within 60 days. There was a note from his lawyer, coldly professional. Mr. Chen believes an expedited divorce is in everyone's best interest. He's prepared to be generous in exchange for your cooperation and discretion. Generous, discretion. He wanted me to go away quietly, to not make a scene, to not tell anyone about Sienna, to not fight back. I sat there, papers in hand, rage building in my chest like a living thing. Then I heard it. Robert's voice, weak and strained, calling from upstairs. Janae, water? I climbed the stairs, got him water, helped him drink. His hands were shaking. He looked at me with those kind, fading eyes. You okay, honey? Yeah, I lied. I'm okay. You're a terrible liar. He smiled slightly. What happened? I showed him the papers. He read through them slowly, his jaw tightening. When he finished, he handed them back to me and said, That boy is not my son. I don't care what his birth certificate says. My son would never do this. Robert, listen to me carefully. In my desk downstairs, bottom drawer, there's a blue folder. Inside is a copy of my new will and a letter I wrote to Marcus. I want you to read it after I'm gone. But I need you to know something now. You are going to be fine, better than fine. You're going to land on your feet. And Marcus is going to learn a very hard lesson about consequences. He died 3 hours later. I was holding his hand. It was peaceful. The hospice nurse said it was a good death, as far as deaths go. No pain at the end, just a slow fade, like falling asleep. I called Marcus immediately. He answered on the 5th ring. I could hear music in the background, people talking. He was at a party. What? Your father just died. Silence. He passed about 5 minutes ago. I thought you'd want to know. More silence. Marcus? I'll come by tomorrow. I can't do this right now. He hung up. I sat with Robert's body for an hour, saying goodbye, thanking him for everything he'd given me. Then I called the hospice service to come collect him. While I waited, I went to his desk and found the blue folder. Inside was the new will as expected. But there was also a letter addressed to Marcus and a letter addressed to me. I opened mine first. Jenai, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope it was peaceful. I hope you were there. I need you to understand why I changed my will. Not because I stopped loving Marcus. I could never stop loving that boy. But because he stopped showing love in return. Not to me, to you. I've watched him take you for granted. I've watched him pull away from you, from our family, from everything that matters. I've watched him become someone I don't recognize. And I've watched you give everything, your time, your career, your heart, and get nothing back. You deserve more. The money I'm leaving you isn't charity. It's recognition. You cared for me like a daughter. You showed me what real family looks like. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up. It's who stays. Use this money to build a new life. Go back to your architecture. Design something beautiful. Find someone who treasures you the way you deserve. And don't let Marcus guilt you. He's going to be angry. He's going to feel betrayed. But he betrayed you first. He betrayed us both. You are stronger than you know. With all my love, Robert. I cried reading it. Then I opened Marcus's letter. Marcus, son, I love you. I need you to know that first. Everything I did because I love you. But I'm disappointed in you. I'm disappointed that you couldn't face my death, that you ran from it, from me. I'm disappointed that you treated Janae, a woman who loved you, who supported you, who sacrificed for our family, with such casual cruelty. I'm changing my will because you need to learn something I should have taught you better. People are not disposable. Love is not a convenience. Family is not something you can walk away from when it gets hard. I'm leaving half my estate to Janaea because she earned it, because she was here, because she showed me more love in my final months than you showed me in the last 2 years. I hope this makes you angry. I hope it makes you look at yourself and realize what you've become. And I hope someday you become the man I tried to raise you to be. You'll be fine financially. You have a good job, a good career. You don't need this money. You need a wake-up call. I love you. Always will. But I'm not proud of you right now. Dad. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. Then I called Patricia, my lawyer. We need to talk, I said. Things just got very interesting. Marcus showed up the next morning. Friday. Black Friday. The irony wasn't lost on me. He looked terrible. Red-eyed, unshaven, wearing yesterday's clothes. For a moment I felt sorry for him. He'd lost his father. Whatever else he'd done, that loss was real. I'm sorry, I said when I opened the door. I know how much he meant to you. Marcus nodded, couldn't speak. He walked past me into the house, looking around like he was seeing it for the first time. Or the last time. Where is he? Funeral home. I have information about services. I thought we could plan something together. Yeah, okay. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd spent countless evenings reading to Robert, watching old movies with him, talking about everything and nothing. The house, Marcus said abruptly. We need to talk about the house. There it was, less than 24 hours after his father's death, and he was already thinking about the inheritance. Okay, I said carefully. I want to sell it quickly. Market's good right now. We can probably get close to asking price if we list within the month. Marcus, we should talk. I know you've been staying here, and I appreciate you taking care of him. I really do. But we both need to move on now. Fresh starts. You can take whatever furniture you want from here. I'm not going to fight you on that. How generous. There's something you should know, I said. What? I handed him Robert's letter. He read it slowly. I watched his face change. Confusion, then shock, then anger. What the fuck is this? Your father changed his will 3 weeks ago. He left half the estate to me. Marcus stood up, the letter crumpling in his fist. That's not possible. He wouldn't. He did. You manipulated him. He was dying. He was on pain medication. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was perfectly clear. His lawyer can confirm that. The hospice nurse witnessed the signing. Everything was legal and documented. This is bullshit. This is my inheritance. He raised me. I'm his son. And where were you? The words came out sharper than I intended. Where were you when he needed you? I couldn't. It was too hard. It was too hard? It was too hard to visit your dying father? But it wasn't too hard to sleep with another woman? To hire a divorce lawyer? To serve me papers on Thanksgiving while he was dying upstairs? Marcus's face went red. You have no right. I have every right. I earned that money, Marcus. I earned it by showing up, by being there, by loving him when you couldn't be bothered. You gold-digging bitch! The words hung in the air. I'm sorry, he said, immediately. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. I stood up facing him. You meant it. Because that's easier than admitting the truth. That you abandoned your father. That you abandoned me. That you're getting exactly what you deserve. I'll contest the will. I'll take you to court. Go ahead. Patricia says we have an airtight case. Robert was mentally competent. Everything was properly witnessed. And you know what looks really bad in court? A son who couldn't be bothered to visit his dying father. A husband who was having an affair while his wife provided hospice care. You want to air all that in public? Be my guest. Marcus stared at me like he'd never seen me before. I don't know you anymore, he said. No, I replied. You never knew me at all. You just thought I'd always be convenient, always be there, always be grateful for whatever scraps of attention you threw my way. He left without another word. The funeral was 2 weeks later. Small, quiet. Just a few of Robert's friends from the food bank, some former colleagues, the hospice nurse who'd been with us at the end. Marcus sat on the opposite side of the chapel from me. He'd brought Sienna to his father's funeral. The audacity was almost impressive. I delivered the eulogy, talked about Robert's kindness, his humor, his generosity, talked about how he'd taught me what real family looks like, how he'd shown me that love is a choice, a daily practice, not just a feeling. I saw Marcus crying, real tears. Maybe he did love his father, in his own limited way. Maybe he was just finally feeling the weight of his choices. After the service, several people came up to me, thanked me for taking care of Robert, told me how much he'd talked about me in his final months, how grateful he'd been for my presence. Marcus watched from across the room. Then his lawyer approached me, same man who'd served me divorce papers on Thanksgiving. Mrs. Chen, we'd like to discuss a settlement. I'm listening. Mr. Chen is willing to withdraw his contest of the will in exchange for certain concessions regarding your divorce. What kind of concessions? He wants the house in Ballard, as originally requested. In exchange, he'll accept your 50% of Robert's estate without further legal action. I pretended to consider it. No, I said. The lawyer blinked. I'm sorry? No. Tell Marcus the answer is no. Tell him I'm keeping my 50% of Robert's estate. That's not negotiable. As for the house in Ballard, he can buy out my share at market value, or we'll sell it and split the proceeds 50-50. Those are the options. Mrs. Chen, I don't think you understand how expensive a protracted legal battle could be. Oh, I understand perfectly. I also understand that your client has no legal grounds to contest Robert's will. I understand that his affair is documented. I have photos, I have credit card records showing hotels and dinners with Sienna. I have text messages. I understand that a judge is going to look very unfavorably on a man who abandoned his dying father and cheated on his wife while she provided end-of-life care. So please tell Marcus to bring it. I'm ready. The lawyer looked uncomfortable. I'll convey your position to my client. You do that. Marcus tried one more time. 3 days after the funeral, he showed up at my new apartment. I'd moved out of Robert's house into a small place in Fremont while the estate was being settled. He looked different, thinner, tired. The cockiness was gone. Can we talk? He asked. I let him in, but I didn't offer him a seat. I miss him, Marcus said. I keep thinking about all the times I should have visited, all the conversations we should have had. I keep thinking about the last time I saw him, and I didn't even know it would be the last time. I know? Do you? Do you really? Because you got everything, Janae. You got his last months, his last words, his money. What do I have? Consequences? I said quietly. You have consequences for your choices. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Marcus, but it is just. Robert tried to teach you that. I wish you'd learned it sooner. So that's it? You're just gonna take the money and disappear? After everything we had together. Everything we had? We had 4 good years and then 18 months of you pulling away, lying, cheating, and abandoning me to care for your dying father alone. That's what we had. I made mistakes. You made choices. He was quiet for a long moment. What happened to you? He asked finally. You used to be kind, forgiving. I still am kind, I said. But I'm not a doormat anymore. There's a difference. I want you to know, he said. Sienna and I broke up. It wasn't real. You were right about that. I didn't respond. Do you think? He started, then stopped. Is there any chance? No, I said. There's no chance. That person you married, the one who would have forgiven anything, who would have taken you back no matter what you did, she's gone. You killed her when you chose convenience over commitment, when you chose your ego over your family. So you're punishing me. No, I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. He left after that. I never saw him again in person, only through lawyers. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. In the end, Marcus agreed to my terms. I got my 50% of Robert's estate, about $625,000 after taxes and fees. Marcus bought out my share of the Ballard house for $180,000. He had to take out a loan to do it, which gave me a small, petty satisfaction. I also got a formal apology as part of the settlement. Patricia insisted on it. A written letter where Marcus acknowledged his affair, his abandonment of Robert, and his mistreatment of me. It was part of the public record. His family and friends saw it. His colleagues saw it. Sienna's family saw it. Apparently, her father called Marcus and told him exactly what he thought of a man who'd cheat on his wife while she was caring for his dying parent. Marcus's reputation took a hit. His LinkedIn was flooded with negative comments until he had to shut down his account. He ended up leaving his job, taking a position in another city where people didn't know the story. Some people thought I was too harsh, that I should have been more forgiving, that grief makes people do terrible things. But here's what I learned. Grief doesn't make you a different person. It reveals who you already are. Marcus's grief revealed his selfishness, his cowardice, his inability to show up when it matters. My grief revealed my strength, my resilience, my capacity to love without losing myself. I took 3 months off after everything was finalized. I traveled, something I'd never done much of. I went to Barcelona and stood in front of Gaudi's buildings and cried at their beauty. I went to Tokyo and got lost in the neon streets and felt alive. I went to New Zealand and hiked through landscapes that looked like Robert's woodworking brought to life. Intricate, purposeful, stunning. When I came back, I started my own architectural firm. Small at first, just me and 2 associates. We specialized in community spaces, libraries, community centers, affordable housing, buildings that serve people, that create belonging. My first major project was a hospice center in Seattle. I designed it with huge windows that bring in light, with gardens that patients can see from every room, with private spaces for families to grieve and remember and say goodbye. I dedicated it to Robert. At the opening ceremony, I gave a speech. I talked about dignity in death, about the importance of beauty even in life's hardest moments, about how architecture can hold space for both grief and hope. Someone recorded it and posted it online. It went viral. Suddenly, I was getting interview requests, speaking invitations, new clients. One of those clients was a man named David. He ran a nonprofit that built affordable housing for veterans. He wanted me to design a complex in Tacoma, 30 units, community spaces, support services. We met for coffee to discuss the project. That meeting lasted 4 hours. We talked about design, yes, but also about loss and resilience and second chances. My wife died 3 years ago, he told me. Cancer. And for a long time, I thought I was done. That I'd had my one great love and that was it. But lately I've been thinking maybe there's room for more. Not to replace what I had, but to honor it by staying open to life. I understood exactly what he meant. We've been together for 8 months now. It's different from what I had with Marcus. Steadier, more honest, more equal. David knows my story, all of it, and he's never once suggested I should have handled things differently. "You did what you had to do," he said once. "You protected yourself. You honored Robert. You held people accountable. That's not revenge. That's justice." Sometimes I think about Marcus. I don't hate him anymore. Mostly I feel sad for him, for all the opportunities he wasted, all the relationships he destroyed through his selfishness. I heard through mutual friends that he's dating someone new, that he's trying to rebuild his career, that he talks about Robert sometimes, about regrets and missed chances. I hope he learned something. I hope he's become a better person. But mostly, I just don't think about him at all. Last week was the 2-year anniversary of Robert's death. I went to his grave with flowers, purple irises, his favorite. I told him about my business, about David, about the life I've built from the ashes of my marriage. I told him he was right, that I landed on my feet, that I'm better than fine. I told him thank you for seeing me, for valuing me, for teaching me that I deserved more than I was settling for. I told him I loved him, that he was the father I'd always needed, that his final act of love, changing that will, writing those letters, had saved me in ways he couldn't have imagined. A woman approached me as I was leaving the cemetery, middle-aged, kind face carrying her own flowers. "Did you know Robert?" she asked. "I did. He was my father-in-law." "Oh, are you Janny?" I nodded. "I'm Susan. I volunteered with Robert at the food bank. He talked about you all the time toward the end, about how proud he was of you, about how you reminded him that there's still goodness in the world." I started crying. 2 years later, and I could still cry about him. "He helped my son," Susan continued. "My son was homeless, struggling with addiction. Robert didn't just give him food. He gave him time, sat with him, talked to him, believed in him when no one else did. My son's been sober 18 months now, working, stable. He wanted to thank Robert, but..." She gestured at the grave. "Robert would be so happy to know that," I said. "That's what good people do," Susan said. "They leave ripples, even after they're gone." She was right. Robert left ripples in my life, in Susan's son's life, in the lives of everyone he touched with his quiet generosity. Marcus left ripples too. Smaller ones, darker ones, ripples of betrayal and hurt and abandoned responsibility. We all leave ripples. The question is, what kind do we want to leave behind? I drive past my old house in Ballard sometimes, the one Marcus kept in the divorce. I don't feel anything when I see it. No longing, no regret. It's just a building now. Someone else's life. My life is the hospice center I designed, where people die with dignity surrounded by beauty. My life is the affordable housing complex in Tacoma, where veterans have found stability and community. My life is the small firm I built from nothing, that now employs 8 people, and does work that matters. My life is Sunday mornings with David, drinking coffee and reading the paper and planning our next adventure. My life is the knowledge that when things got hard, when I was betrayed and abandoned and faced with the choice between bitterness and growth, I chose growth. I chose to show up, to be present, to love without losing myself, to demand what I deserved, to hold people accountable while still choosing compassion. I chose to be the person Robert believed I could be. That's not revenge. That's not even justice, really. That's just becoming who you were always meant to be, once you stop letting other people's limitations define your possibilities. Some people will say I was lucky, that Robert's inheritance changed my life. And they're not wrong. $625,000 gave me options I wouldn't have had otherwise. But money doesn't give you courage. It doesn't give you clarity. It doesn't give you the strength to walk away from people who don't value you. That comes from somewhere deeper. That comes from knowing your worth is not determined by how others treat you. That comes from understanding that love without respect is not love at all. That comes from refusing to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's small vision of who you should be. I teach this to young architects now, not in words, but in how I run my firm, how I treat my employees, how I design buildings that honor human dignity and create space for people to flourish. I teach it to women who write to me after reading articles about my divorce, asking how I found the courage to fight back. I tell them, you don't find courage, you build it. Moment by moment, choice by choice, boundary by boundary. You build it when you say no to people who want to take advantage of your kindness. You build it when you refuse to accept crumbs and call it love. You build it when you show up for people who can't show up for themselves. Not because you're a martyr, but because compassion is its own reward. You build it when you demand what you've earned and refuse to apologize for taking up space in this world. Last month, I got an email from Marcus, the first direct communication in over a year. I saw the article about your hospice center. He wrote, "It's beautiful. Robert would be proud. I wanted you to know that. I also wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I want anything or expect anything, just because it's true. You deserve better than how I treated you. You always did. I hope you're happy. I hope you found what you were looking for. Marcus." I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I hope you're well. I hope you've learned to show up for the people who matter. I hope you've become the man Robert believed you could be." Janae, short, polite, final. Some endings don't need to be dramatic. They just need to be clear. I showed David the email. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Free," I said, "completely free." And I was. Because here's the truth about revenge, about justice, about betrayal and healing. The goal isn't to make the other person suffer. The goal is to become so fully yourself that their absence becomes a gift instead of a wound. Marcus's absence was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to stop people-pleasing, to stop shrinking, to stop accepting less than I deserved. His betrayal broke me open, and in that broken place, I found a stronger version of myself, one who knows her worth, one who demands respect, one who builds beautiful things and refuses to settle. Robert's death taught me that life is short and precious and should never be wasted on people who can't see your value. Together, those lessons rebuilt me from the ground up. I'm not the woman Marcus married. She was softer, more accommodating, more willing to sacrifice herself for others' comfort. I'm not even the woman who cared for Robert, though she was stronger than she knew. I'm the woman who emerged from all of that, scarred but whole, wounded but healed, broken but rebuilt into something more beautiful than before. Some people think that makes me hard, calculating, cold. But David knows different. My employees know different. The families who use the buildings I design know different. I'm not hard. I'm boundaried. I'm not calculating. I'm strategic. I'm not cold. I'm discerning about where I direct my warmth. There's a difference between being cruel and refusing to be a victim. There's a difference between revenge and accountability. There's a difference between bitterness and wisdom. I learned those differences in the hardest possible way, and now I teach them to anyone who will listen. You are allowed to walk away from people who hurt you. You're allowed to demand better. You're allowed to build a life that honors your worth instead of apologizing for it. You're allowed to be both kind and strong, compassionate and boundaried, forgiving and self-protective. You're allowed to love people without letting them destroy you. That's not revenge. That's survival. That's healing. That's growth. That's the difference between who I was and who I am now. And I wouldn't change a single painful step of the journey that brought me here. Because the woman I am now, standing in her own architectural firm, designing buildings that matter, loving a man who deserves her, honoring the memory of a father figure who saw her worth, This woman is worth every moment of heartbreak it took to create her. In the end, the best revenge isn't hurting the people who hurt you. It's becoming so completely, authentically, powerfully yourself that their absence becomes proof of your freedom, not your loss.